Today on MuscleCar, we're taking care of loose ends on Project Business Time, our 700 horsepower blown pro street Dodge. Make sure it'll stop, make sure it'll stay cool, make sure it's safe, and then make it come to life.
The clock is ticking on our Pro Street Dodge Dart, Project Business Time. And over the last several months, it's made quite a transformation, and it all started with an idea. Working off a rendering that steered the whole project, our Mopar came to us and we got right to work pulling out the interior. On went a new K-member and front suspension. Out went the factory floor, and in went a back half kit with a serious rear end.
With the installation of the roll cage and some huge street slicks, she's starting to look like something special, especially when we wedged a giant 700 horsepower blown Frankenhemi into it courtesy of the guys from Horsepower.
We planted some big old tubs in the rear of it, plugged in the exhaust, modified the bumper, lined out the fuel system, got the floor burned back in and ready for action, wired it up, and had Jamie Jordan build us some custom interior panels.
After some quality time with some sandpaper, we finally got it painted, and then some over-the-top graphics on the hood completed the Mopar look that you know she needed. So what we've got left is a few things to button up, but first we want to make sure this thing's going to stop when we need it to. So we're going to bust out this Motive power bleeder. We'll make sure our master cylinder is filled with Wilwood brake fluid that was provided with our brake system. Then the bleeder cap goes on the fluid reservoir. Motive has adapters to fit most models, so don't worry if you've got an aftermarket unit. Then with a good seal and the bleeder loaded with good fluid, you pressurize the unit with this pump handle up to 10 pounds. No need for the shop air. This is where the bleeder pays for itself by being easy to use. You can bleed your brakes anywhere without someone else having to run the pedal for you. The bleed tube goes on the valve at each wheel. The pressure in the bleeder pushes the fluid through. Once the fluid is clear and there are no bubbles, you're in business.
Now that we know she'll stop, we need to make sure she'll stay cool. So we went to Summit Racing for this aluminum radiator and twin fan combo kit. These two 10-inch fans will move over 2,200 cubic feet of air per minute. The radiator is designed with street strip applications in mind, which is perfect for us. And not only does that aluminum cool really well, this whole setup only weighs 16 pounds. We're going to throw in some extra insurance with some radiator conditioner. Now this Purple Ice by Royal Purple is going to help us out in a few different ways when it comes to our cooling system. First of all, it inhibits corrosion, which is important when you're dealing with a mixture of metals and water. In addition to that, it helps our system keep a lower temperature by reducing the surface tension of the water inside. While I'm in fluid mode, I'm going to go ahead and make sure all of them are topped off. The ones that I like to start with are the most difficult to get to or the less obvious. A perfect example of that is a rear diff. This Moser unit is completely fresh. The only miles it's ever seen is being pushed around the shop. All it takes is a pinky finger to tell you it's got enough lube. If your finger comes out with gear oil on it, you're pretty good to go.
We need to make sure that if anything goes wrong, our gauges let us know. We've got way too much money tied up in our motor to take any chances. So we're going to take our Power Probe 3, which we're going to hook up to the battery in the trunk of the car, and check these out. The Power Probe 3 has a 20-foot lead cord on it, which means we can take it anywhere around the car we need to put it to use. I made a custom pod that holds the gauges, which we got from Summit Racing. In this mode, we can use it to power the gauges, making sure the electronic ones are in working order. Well, it looks like everything's pretty good to go, and let's get them put in the car. I kept these last two gauges out so that I would have the clearance needed to get the pod into place. Once the gauges are in, we can then plug the steering column in as well.
Here you go, brother.
Thank you. I'm sorry I called in without it, but I was afraid I might hurt somebody, including me.
Well, they say when you get, older, you...
My age, I know.
Turn to the right, just a hair, mate.
Am I getting in the neighborhood, Tom? Like, you mean change the angle?
Yeah, go. Sir, for our steering column, we went with an I Did It unit that we also got from Summit Racing.
And we're replacing the dash pad with this new one we got from Classic Industries. This is one of those seldom addressed details that does a whole lot for the look of your car.
Coming up, modifying stock seats to work with a safety harness, windshield installation and trim rebeautification. Then we fire up that blown Hemi and make some serious noise.
Business time is ready for us to start getting interior pieces together. We've already done the steering column, dash pad, and the gauges, but we still need to do the seats, the safety harness, and the carpeting in order to call this part of the project wrapped up. These bucket seats we got from our friends at Stevens Performance in Alabama have been refoamed and recovered by our buddy Tommy, and they're pretty much ready to go into the Dodge. After I get it wrestled into place, I can mark the mounting holes. This car came with a bench seat, and these are buckets out of a 72 Duster or Demon. That's okay though, this obviously is not a strict restoration. And these seats are still Mopar to the bone. Whoops, we may have a small issue here with our harness. The problem we've run into is our stock Mopar seats are just a little too wide where we need our harnesses to lay on our shoulders, and we do not want them to slide off of our shoulders during any kind of incident. So we're going to have to address the issue and get them back up where they need to be.
Yeah, Mank, that definitely looks like an issue.
I know, and if it's going to be my butt that's sitting here, I don't want it to be an issue.
Looks like we're going to have to cut a hole right about here. To deal with our seats, well, the top of it's too wide to safely position the belt onto our shoulders. Our cure for that is we're going to cut us a hole so that we can run the belt through it. Easy fix. You may notice that the drill's actually running backwards. I do that to keep the foam from getting all wrapped up around the bit, because all we're using the bit for is to mark where we need to make our cut. The reason I put my hand over those hog greens when I cut them is to keep them from bouncing around and hitting me in the face. Kind of controlling it. All it's going to do is hit your hand and fall right back in there. If you look right here, you can see the marks that the drill bit made. That indicates exactly where we need to make our slice. So it's time to get to cutting. I'm going to prep the steel for welding because I want to insert a little gusset plate and burn it in to reinforce the seat just a little bit. These holes will be my roadmap for the cut that I'm going to make. And this mark is going to be the highway. My trusty old body saw is what I'm going to use to whittle out the bulk of the metal we want to unload. A die grinder with a Matco carbide bit on the end is how I'm going to clean up the cut. Then I'll weld the two plates together for extra reinforcement around the hole. This is also going to help me create a rolled edge, which will keep the belt from suffering premature wear. A trip around the hole with a grinder is the first step to smoothing out the edges. Then I'll bust out some files to finish it up. Well, there you go. It wasn't all that hard. We got us a couple of holes in our seat frame to keep the belts exactly where they need to be to keep us nice and safe. Next thing we have to do, ship out our covers and have some trim or sleeves sewn in where the holes are for the belts, and then we can assemble all this stuff and be one step closer to riding in that big Dodge.
Still ahead, our buddy Dante shows that installing a new windshield into an old Mopar requires a special touch and a leap forward in muffler technology that can help you keep your sanity.
Hey, we're back. Since you guys have been gone, our glass guy, Mike Dantes, popped in to wedge in a new windshield for the Dart.
Come on, honey. Where's your daddy? Oh, look at that. Look at that.
After he gives our new glass a once-over in some cleaner, he'll slip it into place and get to work seating it inside our new seal.
That's squeaky clean, buddy. Try and just get these bottom corners going.
The glass has to sit down inside of a channel on the gasket in order to prevent any movement or leaks. And sometimes the combination of an old car and a brand new gasket and glass can make for an interesting installation.
There we go. Around the corner, around the corner. All right.
But we always go to Mike to take care of the glass in our cars because we know we're in good hands.
There she goes. This, they call them rat tails. The purpose of this round rat tail is to lock this rubber gasket around the glass to keep the elements out. And we have extra rat tail. Anybody hungry? There you go, buddy. That thing's all in there. She was a beast.
Well, that's the reason why we call you, but it looks good from where we're standing.
Think we're ready for some trim.
I guess I need to go grab that. The factory trim that came on our old Dodge wasn't in the greatest shape, and sometimes whenever you're working on an oddball car like our 74 Dart, you run out of options of getting aftermarket parts. So what you have to resort to is getting good original pieces. So we put in a call to our good friends down in Alabama, Stevens Performance, and they hooked us up with a really nice set of original pieces. Only thing it's lacking is a little bit of luster. We'll spend a little quality time with a buffing wheel and some compound, brighten these dudes right up. The process is pretty simple. You need some compound and a buffing wheel and you're in business. What I'm going to use is some of this white rouge, which is ideal for chrome, nickel, iron, and stainless, which is what our trim is made of. A pair of gloves isn't just a good idea, it's a must. If this wheel decides to grab a hold of that trim and snatch it out of your bare hands, you're going to be in need of a bandage. Regardless, it'll do a heck of a job shining up your goods. Now, a lot of times whenever you're refinishing original equipment like we are, with stainless, you're going to run into some boogered up spots. Good thing about this type of stuff, it is repairable. All you have to do is take some sandpaper and pretty much just sand the blemish away. After you get it all out, just follow it up with some finer stuff to knock those scratches down. Then off to the buffing wheel you go. See? Look, no more scratches. It's pretty nice.
Still ahead, the Blown Hemi and Project Business Time make some noise.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're at a little bit of an impasse right now. We've gotten a lot of little things done on the car that needed to be addressed, but we are unable to get the interior finished till we get our seats back from the upholsterer. With that though, we've gotten a lot of odds and ends done that the car needed.
Our old Dodge isn't quite ready to hit the road yet, but we are getting close, and we're ready to hit the key. Now, every now and then, there is a little bit of troubleshooting that goes along with that, so let's see where we're at.
Well, we've checked, double-checked, and triple-checked all of our fluids, and we're confident we haven't left anything unaddressed. But there's one more thing we need before we fire this motor up for the first time, and it's one of these babies right here. You can't be too careful. Okay.
Alrighty, she starts and runs. That means we get to spend some more quality time with her, making sure that she can safely go down the road. And that means double checking every nut and bolt on this thing. Mr. Mink, what do you think?
That sound for the first time never gets old.
That's so true. Now, you guys know that we like our muscle cars loud, both visually and, well, in the normal sense of what loud means. And if you've driven a really vocal car, you know that the droning inside can really get to you after a while. But what if we told you you could have that aggressive sound, performance, and no drone? This is the Dynomax VT muffler. VT stands for valve technology. you can see that it's got a few differences from your run-of-the-mill chamber or straight-through muffler. Here's how this baby works. When exhaust gas enters here, this perforated tube design breathes through a chamber of what Dynomax calls continuous roving fiberglass, which maximizes sound absorption, minimizes turbulence, and delivers a deep and powerful sound. Here's what makes the difference from any other muffler: this exclusive internal valve. When you stand on the throttle, exhaust flow pushes it wide open, allowing maximum exhaust flow in the straight-through design muffler. When you're cruising down the road or at part throttle, the valve narrows down, redirecting the exhaust flow back through the perforated tube and fiberglass, eliminating drone.
And this direct fit, all stainless steel exhaust system follows OE pipe routing and comes with all necessary clamps and hangers. The 2.5-inch mandrel bent pipe, H-pipe, and 3-inch exit pipes will not only help the engine breathe better, but looks great too with Dynomax's polished stainless 6-inch tips. This system is for a 70 to 72 Challenger, but they also make them for a ton of other early model muscle cars as well. Dynomax exhaust systems carry an exclusive 90-day performance and sound guarantee, along with a limited lifetime warranty. And hey, if you've got any questions about anything you saw on the show today, log on to PowerBlockTV.com.